operating properly.
You're assuming the gauge is fully functional, correct? That's an assumption, right?
So it's required to be functioning properly.
But you technically don't know that the gauge is functioning properly.
Well, they have to take a reading from it every day. Now, I mean, like I said before, the state has the right to come in, request the record, certainly view the operations. So if they were to find that the gauge wasn't adequate, that's a violation of the permit conditions.
Would they be using the same gauge day after day or a gauge from the same manufacturer?
I don't know specifics of what they plan to do. They might not know specifics of that. So I can't answer that question.
Okay. Well, I know for a fact that they can't guarantee with certainty that the gauge is fully functional.
Are you an expert in that area?
I'm an expert in computer science.
Are you an expert in the area of gauge calibration?
I'm an expert in the area of software.
How does software compare with an actual physical gauge?
Even the smallest hardware component these days has a chip on it with a piece of software.
Is there a chip required in that gauge?
On that specific gauge,
Yeah.
there would have to be. There would have to be some sort of hardware controller on the hardware component. Yes.
Okay. What are your qualifications as an expert?
In computer science, I have a master's degree from Montclair State and a bachelor's in computer science from TCMJ.
And what's your experience in the area of asphalt plants?
I have experience with software development.
But nothing with asphalt plants?
Nothing with that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a woman in the back. I was thinking she's already been up there.
All right,
My second time, so I
Before you start.
I beg your pardon if you prefer that I don't speak a second time, but some people have spoken 4 or 5 times, so.
Excuse me. I was merely mentioning the fact that there was a woman who hadn't been heard
I
yet.
appreciate that.
Okay.
And
So
I
we don't have any more on that matter.
Okay. Catherine Marchicelli, 10 Hayes Way, Lopatcong. And I have a follow-up question regarding the operation of the gauges in asphalt plants.
Who are you directing the question to?
Yes. To Susan, but I'm sorry, your last name escapes me at this moment. I think that you mentioned that they might not at this time know what gauges that they're using definitively.
Yes, that's true, and I have absolutely no knowledge of what gauge they might use or whether they've even thought about that. I'm just telling you what the permit requires them to do. So I can't speak about the gauge or what gauge they may or may not do or make recommendations on it.
Okay,
Just
well,
communicating that the permit requires that they have one in place and it's operational.
okay, so the gauge is required to be in place, it is required to be operational. However, between the 3 to 4 times a year when the state would actually come out or the unannounced visits, it is based on self-reporting. So, are there requirements for the training of the operators that operate these gauges?
No, not in the air permit.
So they may not be specialists in chemistry, they may not be specialists in physics, they could be an operator with 0 to however many years experience.
I
Is
think
that?
that's more appropriate for the operations people. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay. But at the moment, there are not DEP regulations requiring.
DEP doesn't dictate who you hire or how to run it, no. It just requires that you have the gauge in place and that it be functional and that it be within a certain range identified in the permit.
Okay. So as far as I'm understanding at the moment, I have no definitive information that it would actually be functioning on a daily basis.
If it's not, they're in violation of the permit.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we've approached the 10 o'clock hour.
If you want to.
Yes, thank you. I just have Maureen McCabe, 11 Foxwood Lane.
Could you speak up, please, or speak into the
Yes,
microphone?
Maureen McCabe, 11 Foxwood Lane, Lopatcong. I just have a few questions. And I just want to go back to the fines. You stated that, my question is, how do we determine what the amount of the fine is when we realize that there's an emission that is beyond, that exceeds the limit?
There are a couple different ways it's done. First is by reference to the statute, and what the maximum is. And then there is a process that the DEP uses to determine the gravity of the offense. So they look at the gravity of the offense, meaning how serious is it? So, for example, a paperwork violation that didn't actually result in any increased emissions might be regarded less seriously than an actual emissions violation. The gravity, the frequency, the efforts to mitigate by the facility, those would be some of the factors that would be considered in assessing the penalty.
What are the range of the fines?
Well, it's a daily fine, and I believe I apologize, the upper limit was changed a few years ago, so I believe it's at 50, it was at $25,000 a day. I believe it's at 50 now. It's a serious fine.
50,000 is a serious amount of money. However, if you're dealing with an asphalt plant that's making millions of dollars from contracts in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, how much of a deterrent is that fine?
I have found that it's a serious deterrent, and even lesser fines can be a serious deterrent.
Okay. Also, I'm not sure who stated this, but they stated that the facility is required to monitor their own facility. In your experience, have you had any issues with facilities that suddenly, the truck ran over my monitor and broke, I'm so sorry. Has that ever been an issue where now a monitor has been disabled that you would know of?
I have not directly been involved in cases where they've disabled monitoring equipment. However, it has happened.
However, it has happened.
Sure.
And this again, I'm not sure who mentioned this, different topic. Someone mentioned the term natural gas curtailment. I'm not sure what that means. Is that something you can explain?
Sure, that's actually a regulatory term, and what it means is, you have natural gas supplied to your plant, but if there's a shortage of natural gas because there's peak demand, very hot summer day, for example, that would be an instance where it might happen, and the gas supplier says, we're gonna curtail you as a major user. We're gonna curtail your natural gas. You're not gonna get any more natural gas from us. That is the only instance in which this plant, and this is very common for a lot of plants in New Jersey, then you'd be able to switch your fuel from natural gas to fuel oil.
So the time frame that would happen would be in the peak of the summer.
Well, I just gave that as an example of when natural gas curtailment is most likely to occur.
So when it's curtailed, the state-of-the-art facility that's claiming it's state-of-the-art because it's using natural gas is now not using natural gas, it's actually using fuel oil.
The state-of-the-art aspect of the plant is related to the baghouse that's controlling the particulate emissions. So that would still be fully functional and operating at the high level. So natural gas curtailment and the allowance to do that is very, very limited in the state of New Jersey. So you're not talking about long periods of time. I mean, I don't even know if that's something that happens frequently in this area.
Yep, I could speak relative to that because I do work at a facility where there are natural gas interruptions. And typically in a process like that, it's in the winter months when demand is up high for natural gas for heating of homes, schools, to commercial facilities, industrial facilities. And all my experience over quite a few years now, it's always been in the winter months when you go on a gas interrupt. And during those months, my understanding from the testimony, this plant really won't be utilized during that time period. So the only time that I can think from my working experience in a field like this during non-winter months is if the natural gas line, they do periodically take it down for maintenance to run a piece of equipment through the pipeline and clean it. That may be a day every 5-10 years has been my experience on that part of it.
But sorry.
So the natural gas interruption is typically winter months, is my
So
experience.
this facility is probably going to be running, I think someone stated last night, March to November. So there is times when it's going to be cold season still.
It'll be cold season, but my understanding, according to the testimony, this plant won't operate during those cold periods.
Okay. So if it gets interrupted, the natural gas, they go to the oil. Which one has potential for stronger emissions? Using natural gas or the oil?
Natural gas is a clean burning fuel.
So the emissions for the natural gas are better or
Are
worse
lower.
than the oil?
Are
They're
lower.
So when the plant is operating with the oil, then the emissions potential is much higher.
Not much higher, but it is higher and not for all pollutants. But generally speaking, emissions from fuel oil combustion are higher than natural gas.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Right.
Point of order is not a question, it's a point of order. I just want to ask whether the two experts have reviewed the environmental impact statement that was prepared by the, did the two experts review the environmental impact statement that was prepared by the engineer, the applicant's engineer? Not that you had to, I'm just asking, had you? You did, okay. I would ask that the next hearing, when
I
we
can't
return,
understand. Can you repeat that, please?
I would ask that the next hearing, when we reconvene, that if they could review them, because they have been very helpful to us, and we really appreciate that they're here, and we'd like to ask questions about that report to that. So we appreciate that. But we do appreciate that they were retained by the board. It's been very helpful. And I just have one final question. Mr. France, where do you work? You mentioned that you have experience.
I work at a pharmaceutical company called Sanofi, and it's a large site, and we have a central utility plant there. So we have equipment that runs normally on natural gas, but in the winter months we are on a gas interruptible service, and during that gas interruptible service we will run fuel oil.
Thank you very much. That was it.
You're welcome. I have maybe a question for our two experts. There's been a lot of testimony tonight on the state of the art and what that means. The DEP, what the air permit is, we're exceeding the EPA requirements on a positive manner along here. The stack tests are required on an annual basis and then every 5 years and things like that. I would just ask both of you, based on your experience, because you have a lot more experience than I do, I'll say, in the air emissions and in this category. Would both of you, would you have the confidence level to live within, let's say, a half a mile of a facility like this, knowing all the regulatory requirements by the DEP, EPA, local jurisdictions, et cetera, everything that's required? Would you have the confidence to live within a half a mile of a facility like this?
I probably do live pretty close to a facility like this, so not an asphalt plant, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of industry in New Jersey, so I'd say most of us,
Yes.
maybe unbeknownst to us, we probably do live there. So my answer is yes.
My answer would be yes as well.
Thank you.
Okay, we're past 10 o'clock right now, and normally we shut meeting with the testimony from 7 to 10. So at this point, we're going to close adjourn the meeting, and we'll reconvene. We'll have to basically re-announce it. I'm not sure the school is available for that date. When will we be aware of when we can meet again? Okay. What would be the best way to, put a notice, the legal notice in the paper if it's not already? Okay.
The only thing is that if we don't announce it tonight, then we have the, could we continue the meeting to the Monday? When is your next meeting? Could we say that it's at the municipal building, and if we have to, that way, we have to announce tonight what we're doing, so if we can announce it at the regular meeting hall, and if in fact there's a crowd, come here, because otherwise we break the change, and we need 10 days to notice.
You want to have back at the municipal? 6:30. The next meeting will be held at the municipal building at 6:30 p.m. on the 29th of February.
This hearing will be continued,
This-
no new notice?
They'll be, yes, you will have to review prior to this.
Could I ask if we could start with our witnesses? I would suggest that the questions going very far afield with the experts, which the municipality is hiring to talk about gauges, what would happen if there was a fire, what would happen if this, masks. We didn't object because we feel that the public has a right to participate, but it's going pretty far afield, and we'd like to get on track if we could. I don't think that your experts have to review the EIS they were hired, I suppose, for the air quality, which they're highly expert
Right.
in, but I can see days and days of testimony and repetitive questions from them. If we could start with our own witnesses at the next meeting, we'd appreciate it. You know,
The agenda for the next meeting would be that I'd like to have you complete your presentation with your witnesses.
Thank you.
At that point, we'll open it up to questioning generally
Very
from the
good.
witnesses that you have there. I assume your air quality expert will be at that meeting again.
We hope so.
And the public again do it, but you will have completed your presentation at that point.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. The principal of the school, if everyone would just remain seated for a few minutes and checking to see what the schedule is on the school now. I wasn't aware she was in the audience. And we should have an answer to where we're going to meet in a few minutes. Superintendent. I'm sorry, I corrected myself. The superintendent of the building, not the principal.
Gary,
Yeah, Bob.
yeah, I'm going to look up the issue of the environmental impact statement presented by the applicant that was first presented to this board on the September meeting was shown to be basically deficient. The problem was it was just a hash issue, something that had been presented at the whole Alpha meeting. Consequently, we questioned, challenged them on their issues. They had many inconsistencies and so on. So I don't feel that report was really fairly to judge what the impact is here in this township. Came up with the Alpha board, and that was turned down. ALPHA.
Okay. All right, okay. The superintendent indicates that date is available for the school, so the meeting will reconvene at the school at 7 p.m. And all the other conditions will maintain. 49th of February. Okay?